Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another live stream of Mad About Sports. And of course, as you all know, every Monday we will be back talking about cricket and about IPL. So, this is our daily IPL roundup as to what happened over the last 1 week, how the teams are performing, and what to look ahead for this week of cricket because a lot has happened. It's just midway through the IPL, almost 33 odd games are done, and it's getting very exciting because most of the teams have played close to 6 to 7 games, and now this is where you talk about the halfway stage of the tournament. And after the end of 1 month, some teams have definitely taken some big leaps. And from the last week, whatever we were talking about, some teams have certainly shown some bit of improvement, and some teams have fallen away even a little more down. So we are going to be talking about all these things in today's live. So looking forward for everybody to look and put out their comments, and so we can know what you reckon about your favorite teams as well. So let's get going. So I think before we start, let's look at the points table as how things stand at the end of the 33 odd games, because a lot has happened if I have to talk about, because now you have already seen how Chennai Super Kings are on top of the table, and they are sitting very comfortably at the top of the table because they've gotten 10 points. And then is the most interesting part about it. If you look, there are five teams who are jammed at number 8 with 8 points in their hand, and that's a crazy thing to do, isn't it? Because there are five teams who are equally looking out for a footing in the top four, and that's going to be, this IPL is one of those kind of IPL where you do not really know who's going to make it to the top four because everything is quite jam packed. Because Chennai took that leap of 10 points, you might say Chennai is slightly safer, but not just yet, you can say, because with more teams also will be playing this week, a lot of teams might get jammed on number 10. Now that's the next figure a lot of these teams are going to be jammed at. Now if you look at Mumbai Indians, they have a game in hand. They could be another team who could also get into that jam of number 8. So which means there'll be six teams who are going to be jammed at 8 points, and that is going to be an insane number of teams who are going to really find a spot, who would be really fighting to get a spot in the playoffs. Because now at the end of 7 games, a lot of these teams would have ideally figured out what to be doing, what to do towards the business end of the tournament as well. So that's very interesting. Now from last week, one major improvement is that Delhi Capitals have gotten off the mark. So they are going to be having a game later today. So they can have an opportunity to go at with 4 points, and that's going to make the table even more interesting, which will mean they'll be just 2 wins away from getting to that position where they'll feel okay, they're just 2 wins away from the top four teams as well. So it has really turned around. This IPL can turn around pretty quickly and swiftly, because such is IPL. We've seen that over the years. There are possibilities for a lot of teams to make comeback in IPL, especially if you're losing a lot of games in the first half. It's about gaining the momentum and getting that final thrust towards the latter end, towards the business end. Whoever does well with high momentum, they often go on to do well in the IPL. They often go on deep in the IPL as well, because a lot of teams who do well in the first half does not really peak when it matters the most. So as you all often say in sport, peaking at the right moments is very crucial, and that's what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about that. So shocking game from KL. I think we should talk about that. We will talk about it right when we talk about the Lucknow Super Giants team. So, like what we do usually, let's start off by talking about Chennai Super Kings, isn't it? Because they are on top of the table. They are the team which have sat much more comfortably. They have really identified, I think it's normalcy for them after one blip the last season. The normalcy have continued for them, and it just looks like the team is really backing themselves to go out there and do a job. They found players who nobody expected to come out there and do a job. Now let's talk about that, isn't it? So I'll give an interesting stat, because if you look at the overall chart of this year's IPL, let's look at that highest strike rate chart right on your left corner, right left bottom corner. That one figure out there, Ajinkya Rahane and Chennai Super Kings. He scored 209 runs this IPL with a strike rate of 199, which includes that 71 of 29 balls and 61 which he scored against Mumbai of 25 odd balls as well. Now you're talking about Ajinkya Rahane, a test player who was discarded by Team India, who is absolutely no fray of selection all of a sudden. And then Chennai Super Kings buys him in the auction after he had a disastrous season with KKR last time around. And now at number 3, where he's often years in IPL, he's preferred opening the batting. He's come out number 3, and he's just rediscovered himself, and he's given him that push. That's something which we have seen often with Chennai Super Kings, isn't it? The players who are discarded, players who you feel like will not have any utility in any other team, they just come to Chennai Super Kings and they just rediscover themselves, and they just get a revival in their career. And that's exactly what has happened. And you have to say, at the end of the day, Ajinkya Rahane has been a phenomenal player in his career. But now this final thrust, we're seeing a new version of Ajinkya Rahane in itself. Rahane is looking like 10 years younger. Absolutely, I agree with you totally, Prakash, because you have to say there is some secret sauce in Chennai Super Kings which we all are unable to identify. We've often spoken about players like Ambati Raidu. We've spoken about players like Moeen Ali for their liking. Let's talk about Michael Assi there. Let's talk about Matthew Hayden there. Over the years, I'm just bringing out some names. Dwayne Smith, Brendan McCullum. And we've talked about some Indian stars in the recent past, how they've been able to get that ray of hope from Chennai Super Kings. In 2018, if you look back, nobody felt like a player like Harbhajan Singh can be used to best of utility because he was coming to business end of his career. But that's when, Mahendra Singh Dhoni just captures these players and makes them do the best of it. So Mahendra Singh Dhoni has got two ways to go about it. That's what I personally feel. One is he picks up these players who are just starting off in their career, who have not yet made a mark, and some players who have a point to prove, who are possibly in the twilight of their career. And he just makes the best utilization of both these kind of players. Now, let's talk about the youngsters in the team as well. Someone like Akash Singh. Now, Akash Singh has been there in the circuit for quite some time. He was there part of the Rajasthan Royals squad. Rajasthan Royals never got to utilize him, you can say so. He's been a phenomenal bowler, you have to say that. He's always been there and thereabouts, especially when it comes to him trying to give an impact in the domestic cricket. But he's not been utilized by any of the franchises. But Chennai Super Kings picks him. Mukesh Chaudhary gets an injury, and he gets ruled out. In the first match, they went with Hunger Gaker, and all of a sudden, Deepak Chahar was ruled out. So Tushar Deshpande, who has been discarded, and Akash Singh, who is yet to start off his career. He picks these both bowlers up and makes the best utilization of these both. Now let's talk about Mahesh Patirana. Now Mahesh Patirana has been another bowler who's not yet played international cricket for their liking. He's yet to really make a mark in his career. But Chennai really identifies this guy, backs him completely, and makes him ball in tough situations. And he's been delivering. Let's talk about that game against Royal Challengers Bangalore last week, where he came and balled two crucial overs towards Latvian, which really tilt the tide towards Chennai Super Kings. Though Chennai Super Kings scored 225 that match, but you have to say, while Royal Challengers Bangalore were chasing, the tide was towards Royal Challengers Bangalore in that entirety of the game. They were ahead of the chase. But then Mahesh Patirana's two overs towards Latvian really brought the momentum back into Chennai Super Kings. So this utilization of these resources from Mahendra Singh Dhoni over the years has been phenomenal. Now, one other player you have to talk about, especially this season, has been Shivam Dube, isn't it? Because what a season he's been having. Now, when we talk about Shivam Dube, we often again relate with Shivam Dube's career with Royal Challengers Bangalore, where he was almost a failure even there. He couldn't really get into the. You have to say he couldn't really make it big in Royal Challengers Bangalore. He has scored 184 runs at a strike rate of 157 this season. Now that is massive, isn't it? Because in Royal Challengers Bangalore, he was striking 119, and in Chennai Super Kings, he's striking 157, and he's been used as the middle overs basher against spin. And now you have to say, if you're bowling spin to Shivam Dube, a lot of teams will dread because he's got that arc which he's been able to rediscover. He's been going hell for leather. And what is it all about, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's about the confidence which has been shown in the players, the role clarity what you give in the players. Now, you've been given a role clarity with Ajinkya Rahane that go out there, play complete strokes. Even if you fail, it doesn't matter. We're going to back you. Same with Shivam Dube. Go out there, do a job, which is to go and hit the spin. Just go out there, swing your bat, and play with positive mindset. That's all. Now, we are talking about players. In IPL, it's all about managing players because coaching doesn't really work in a period of 2 months. It's very important to realize that IPL is such a short tournament. You can't really coach players in this kind of environment. It's so important to manage these players, give them the role clarity. They're made to IPL because they're good enough. And that's one of the reasons they're getting big bucks as well. So it's about these players. Ajinkya Rahane does not need any coaching. He's played more than 17, 18 years of international cricket. Similarly, for Shivam Dube, he's been playing for the last 10 years and he does not need a lot of coaching. It's about just giving that clear thought, clear vision in these players and telling that go out there, do a job, we're going to back you. And when you have word from someone like Mahendra Singh Dhoni himself, that takes a lot. That gives you a lot more confidence. That gives you extra bit of wings to go out there and put up a performance. So Chennai Super Kings have been very, very impressive, you have to say so, and the bowling as well, especially the spinners. Ravindra Jadeja has been an MVP for them so far, coming out in the middle overs, picking up crucial wickets for Mahendra Singh Dhoni, and alongside him, you have to say Mahesh Tikshana as well has done a very phenomenal job. But since he has come back into Chennai Super Kings team for this season, he's really done a job for them, even in the death overs and even towards some crunch overs as well, picking up those important wickets throughout the course of the innings. Now let's look at the next team. Let's look at Rajasthan Royals, because Rajasthan Royals are coming back after two losses now, two back-to-back losses, something which we did not expect them to go through last week when we were talking about them. They were sitting comfortable after the last week's performance. They were looking like, okay, they might just run away with a lot of points, but then two back-to-back losses, one of course with Rajasthan, one with of course what happened with Lucknow Super Giants, and one with Royal Challengers Bangalore. Two losses which have come in chases. Now that is something which we have to talk about, right? One line for all the teams this week. I mean, over the past 1 week, it's I'll say middle muddle. That's one word. Middle muddle is one word, because you're seeing 8 points, which is a jam over there. It looks like Bangalore traffic, to say the least. If a lot of people are aware of it, a lot of teams just have no room for breathing, and now this means no teams have opportunity for complacency as well. You just have to be on top of the game throughout, and this is going to be one of the most competed IPL. I'll tell you why. There's a reason why this is happening as I move forward in the video. Just before that, just let me talk about Rajasthan Royals, because Rajasthan Royals have got two main issues now, right? Last week when we spoke about how Rajasthan Royals is the most close to perfect team in the IPL. Bowling is clicking well, batting is clicking well, but now all of a sudden they are finding slightly a difficulty, especially while chases. Now, if their top three fails, there is an issue there, isn't it? Because even in the last two games, you're seeing if Sanju fails, Josh Butler fails, alongside Yashasvi, who's not there to take the game over the line, that means Rajasthan Royals can be in a little bit of pressure, because that puts a lot of pressure on Shimran Hetmeyer to go out there and do a job. And you can't expect Shimran Hetmeyer to always cross you over the line. And that's what's really backfired for Rajasthan Royals. You have to say the bowling is still fine, and the batting is also doing slightly well. You have to say they're not doing bad just yet. It's not alarming signs yet. I mean, these are the losses they would want to put behind them right away and move forward, because they're still a very good team. They've got an impeccable run rate, and that's going to really help them in their qualification course, of course. Now, if you look at Rajasthan Royals, they are going to be playing some important games, and now you have to talk about Jaipur pitch, because that is where I personally felt that's not an ideal pitch for this Rajasthan Royals team, because then what happens is you're nullifying the spin skill which Rajasthan Royals possesses. Now, when we talk about Yuzvendra Chahal and R. Ashwin, they are skillful bowlers to give you victories even on flatter decks, because that's just the quality of skill which these two possesses. Now, what this Jaipur surface has really done is, we've also spoken about it while we did preview for Rajasthan Royals before the start of the tournament, how this Jaipur wicket is going to be so important for Rajasthan Royals to use it to best of ability. Now, what this has done is it's not really helping their batters. Now, if you look at their batting, you have a Josh Butler, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Devdutt Padikkal, Sanju Samson, Shimran Hetmeyer, all like batting on good surfaces. And now if you look at their victories, they won in Gujarat, they won in Ahmedabad, they won in Guwahati. All these are pure batting surfaces. And now that's been the biggest issue for them. They're not been able to get victories on surfaces which has slightly been, on the slower side of things, and especially while chasing. Even you saw it in the last evening's game in Bangalore, that the pitch started getting slow. This batting all of a sudden started to look slightly more shaky, because this they enjoy the ball coming onto the bat more often, and that's where the Jaipur surface can be detrimental for this team, you can say, in the longer run. So they would want to correct that, number one, and hopefully make sure the opposition spinners don't come into play. Maybe prepare more flatter surfaces where Chahal and Ashwin's skills can overpower the maybe the mediocrity of the opposition team spinners, because you have to say skill level wise, Yuzvendra Chahal and R. Ashwin are right above on the charts. There are very few teams or very few bowlers in this year's tournament, especially when it comes to spin bowling quality, who can match their skill levels. So that is where they want to use their skill levels on good surfaces for batting, and then make their batting come into the fore. Now that is about it from Rajasthan Royals, because they've been they'll be slightly retrospecting at this point and looking at, okay, where did it go wrong for them. Can Delhi still qualify? Comment on Prasanna analysis. KKR not making the playoffs. I think you're talking about Prasanna Goram's analysis with Ravichandran Ashwin. Yeah, I mean, see, it is he has got a point. I'll tell you why. Now let's talk about this analysis first, because we have a question now. Maybe we'll not talk about KKR while we go down. We'll talk about KKR now itself. Now KKR, look at that. If you look at that points table, after those two wins, they first had a loss against Punjab, then they had two consecutive wins, which came out of nowhere. Then what? They've had four consecutive losses now. Now that is a lot of losses, right? Just to take it up, just to breathe, just to take that right in. Now, if you look at KKR in 2021, I know it's unfair to compare the tournament, because the tournament had a big break in between. Then there was a momentum shift to KKR all of a sudden. They were 2 of 7. They were two wins and 5 losses at the end of 7 games. So it's something very similar. If they have to look for inspiration, they don't have to look a lot beyond. They can look into 2021 season how things turned around for them. Now, what is happening with KKR? Now, why Prasanna Agor I'm also analyzing that perspective is because there is no stability. Now, one thing which you need, which you see from the top teams, if you look at these top teams, top five teams or top six teams, or let's talk at like top five teams for that example, there is a stability in the batting order, at least in their opening pair. With KKR, what has happened over the last few seasons, especially last season and this season, is they've got an opening pair for every game. Last season, they had 8 different opening pairs in 14 games. This season, at the end of 7 games, they've got already 5 opening pairs. Now, that is not the way you want to play in IPL. You have Nitish Rana who scored 181 runs at an average close to 25, and he's been striking 140, which is quite decent. You will take Nitish Rana's performance because whenever he has come into bat, he's come into bat in difficult situations. Then you have Rinku Singh, who's been the standout performer for them. He scored 233 runs at an average of 58. He's been striking the ball 148 as well, which is another big tick for them. Then you have Venkatesh Iyer, who's also scored close to more than 250 runs, who's striking the ball 159 once again, and who's been having an average of 36. So you have three players who are striking the ball in excess of 140 and who scored more than 200 plus runs. Now, that is a positive sign when it comes to middle order batting. And as we always say, middle order batting is always going to help you to do well. But now that doesn't mean you can shuffle around with your opening pairs. Now, Venkatesh Iyer, you identify himself as a number four batter, where he has bat majority of the Syed Mustaq Ali Trophy for Madhya Pradesh. Then you have a Rinku Singh, who's been designated as a number five role for this team, you can say so, and Nitish Rana, who might bat number three, number four for them. But now you're making Venkatesh Iyer to open the batting one game. You're bringing him at number three one game, number four that one game. There is no role clarity. That does not really help the cause for this team. And their biggest issue this season has been their bowling. You have to admit at the end of the day, their bowling has been all over the place this season, and that's not a good thing at all because you have to say that bowling is something which makes you win championships. We often say batting might win you matches, but bowling wins you championships. And that is where the biggest issue for this team has been their bowling. Because Varun Chakravarti has picked up 7 wickets this tournament. He's picked up 10 wickets rather this tournament, and he's looked good. But what has happened with Varun Chakravarti is that on the other end of things, Sunil Narayan has been hot and cold. He's not been consistent like the Sunil Narayan which we know. On days he has gone for runs. On days where teams have looked to target him, he has gone for plenty of runs. He's picked up 6 wickets this tournament, which includes a 3 wicket haul. But his average is 36, and it's going an economy of close to 9. And that's not helped the cause for the Kolkata Knight Riders team. And to add to that all, Umesh Yadav, who's been their go-to bowler from last season, and he's gone for plenty of runs as well this season. Now, that is not a good sign for this team. They do not have a fast bowler to back them up, especially up front, to give them those breakthroughs. And to add to that, the owners and the burden is just on the spinners to go out there and do a job. Now, that does not happen every time. Though you can say Surya Sharma has been impressive as well. He's done a very good job for them. Being his debut season, he's not played professional cricket before this. For him to come in and do a job, and he's done a job quite consistently for them, you have to say that there is something about Surya Sharma. But then the fast bowlers, that's been the biggest letdown for the Kolkata Knight Riders team. Umesh Yadav going for runs. Now, can they bring in someone like a Vaibhav Arora? They can possibly do that. Or Harshit Rana. Going ahead, they'd want to definitely look at these two bowlers because they'd want to really correct these opening spells where they're leaking a lot of runs, and that fast bowler who's unable to contain them towards the death overs. David Visa is a new bowler they've tried out up top and also in the death. But is David Visa the answer to all your issues? Definitely not. So they will have to identify this as to whether can they bring in Lockie Ferguson and Shardul Thakur. Now, this is where they've been going wrong as well. You got two players who you traded in for 22 crores cumulatively, where you went into auction close to being handicapped because you spent already 22 crores on the trade window on Lockie Ferguson and Shardul Thakur, and you're benching these two players. Now, that is out of one's words or out of one's imagination as to what is going wrong with KKR's management at this point, because there is no stability, there's no clarity as to what did you want to do with these two players. If you're not going to back these two players, then why even get them in the first spot? Why did you even spend 22 crores in the first spot? So these are issues which is very much a looming issue on KKR at this point, and that's one of the reasons why even analysts and pundits across the world did write KKR off at the first stage. But when they looked like they were going to gain momentum, they again started tinkering a lot with things which shouldn't have been broken. Now we have often spoken about one saying, "Why break something which ain't broken?" And that's something which has been happening with KKR. After the 3 games, they looked to be in good momentum, but they went on to tinker again. Now they are tinkering in every game. There is no stability in this team, and that's been their biggest downfall this season. And now it looks like an uphill climb for them. Now, if they go on to make it to the playoffs from here, it'll require some individual brilliance alongside team which will come together and play out of their skin, which is going to be close to impossible, one can say so, on practical basis at least. But in IPL, as you all know, funny things keep happening. So if KK want to take inspiration, look back 2 years ago where they were and how they really made a turnaround, and they possibly can do that once again. And they've got the talent to do it. It's not like they do not have the talent. Jason Roy back in this team is a massive, massive boost for them. It's just about everybody clicking at the right time and their bowling really coming into the fore for KKR to do well. And it's quite possible for them to do it. But whether today win match Hyderabad won. I mean, we'll talk about Hyderabad. We will talk about Hyderabad in today's match as well, because we have to talk about what has been going wrong with Hyderabad and Delhi as well, because two teams who are languishing on the bottom of the table who are clashing, which I personally and we are personally disappointed with, because you have to say Hyderabad. I when we did the preview as well, was rated to be one of the best teams on paper at least. How they've really turned up in this tournament has been very underwhelming, and we will identify the reasons why. Let's talk about the next team, which is Lucknow Super Giants, because we already heard a comment saying that shocking from KL Rahul. What is going wrong with Lucknow Super Giants? You have to say Lucknow Super Giants is one of those teams who really impresses you on days and who really disappoints you in a mighty way as well. Now, a funny thing which I like to derive, I mean, it's not anything we're getting analysis, which we usually don't do. There are three players, Nicholas Puran, Deepak Huda, and KL Rahul. Three players from the season of 2021, where who are part of the Punjab team. And you have to talk about the same Punjab team who are choking under pressure consistently from winning positions. Now, I'm not trying to imply anything that they have got that, but these three players have been in situation prior where they have lost games from winning positions. And that is a common factor even with the Lucknow Super Giants team. Now, if you are part of the Lucknow Super Giants management at this point of stage, you have to say that Lucknow Super Giants are going to be really wondering, okay, why are we losing games like this? Because you don't want these 2 points which are right in your hands, you let them away. Now that's almost like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, to simply put it in that way, because these were 2 points against Gujarat Titans, which Lucknow Super Giants should have cruised. 33 runs of 36 balls, and you ended up scoring 23 just out of the last 36 balls. That is not just acceptable. And KL Rahul scoring 68 of 61 balls is just not acceptable, because the kind of start he got that match, and to let go of that game from there on, it is just not acceptable, because they had a good game against Rajasthan Royals, mind you. They went to Jaipur, defeated Rajasthan Royals, defending a very small total. It just looked like Lucknow Super Giants were on a trajectory climbing just up, but this loss is going to be extremely demoralizing for them. Now, it's going to be very important for them to put this loss behind, come back very quick, because they have been doing some things very right this season. Number one, they've really backed their opening combination. A lot of people have come out saying, "Why? Where is Quinton de Kock? He scored 500 plus once last season," but they still went on to show faith in Kyle Myers, which is a positive sign, because you expect someone like Kyle Myers to come good in some of those flatter surfaces, because that's the ability of the man. Now they're back someone like Deepak Huda, though he's had a very ordinary season. They backed Ayush Badoni. There is a lot of stability within this team. There's a lot of role clarity within this team, where they've identified Nicholas Puran to be the designated finisher. They've identified Krunal Pandya to be the floater, and they've also made sure the death bowlers as well. They've designated the death bowlers. They've identified an impact player for spinning tracks as well. So there's a lot of stability in this team. So they're going in a good track, but they don't want to be losing games like this, because ultimately these are the small losses which might come to bite you towards the latter end. Because when you're trying to qualify, make it to maybe the top two, you don't want to be falling and playing that eliminator at the end of the day. You want that extra bit of cushion to play that qualify number one, even if you have a bad day there, get another chance to go to the final. So this is something which a lot of teams miss out on. We have seen often with a lot of teams over the years, they miss out on these 2 points, and they keep saying, "Oh, if you would have won there, we would have made it to top two, and that would have given us an extra bit of chance to qualify into the final." So they don't want that to come bite them at the end of the day. So that's about it from Lucknow. They're doing a lot of things right. There's a lot of positives about the team. Let's talk about Gujarat Titans, because it looks like a team was not, though they had a couple of losses here and there, but again, you have to say, I will talk about fantasy as well. Before we start the toss, I think हिंदी में बात करने की कोशिश करूंगा मैं, बिल्कुल जब फैंटेसी के बारे में बात करूंगा, बिल्कुल मैं हिंदी में बात करूंगा, क्योंकि आज के मैच अभी चालू होने वाला है, अभी अगले 5-10 मिनट में, तो we will talk about fantasy side of things very soon, Mr. Savita Ingle. So Talk about Gujarat Titans, isn't it? Because Gujarat Titans have been one of the phenomenal teams from the start of this IPL. Though they've had losses, you have to say the loss, especially against Rajasthan Royals, would have been very, very would have been hurtful for them, because you have to say they were in a winning position, and the game against KKR as well, two games where they really held the game by the scruff of the neck, they just let it go. But the game against Lucknow Super Giants, we did speak about Lucknow Super Giants letting go of the game, but then how Gujarat Titans showing once again how what they are doing last year, they're just repeating it. From points or positions where you feel like Gujarat Titans can't win a game, they just pull out a victory out of the hat, out of nowhere. And that's the belief which runs in this team, which is a phenomenal belief in itself, because the captain Hardik Pandya himself has been a very vocal captain. You saw that in the game right after a strategic timeout. The team came together. Hardik Pandya was extremely not pleased with the fact that the team was not fielding well. There was not a lot of energy. Then all of a sudden, there's a switch, and the team started doing a lot better. And Mohit Sharma, you have to talk about him. What a phenomenal turnaround for Mohit Sharma, the bowler, this time around this season. Now, when you look at the top charts, we've talked about the most economical bowlers. We have to say Mohit Sharma should be one of the top bowlers out there, because he's been outstanding. Rashid Khan has picked up 12 wickets for them. Alongside that, let's talk on Mohit Sharma. Last season, he couldn't make it to IPL. He was a net bowler. He was part of Punjab squad before that. He was having a dreadful time. All right, and for him to turn things around in his career at this stage in his career, and to get complete backing from Gujarat Titans and to deliver, you have to say there's something special about it. And when we talk about Chennai Super Kings, we do give them a lot of credit. Similarly for Gujarat Titans as well, the management has done a supremely good job in terms of getting the best out of the players, getting the best out of talents, but getting the best out of resources what they have in hand. And that's one factor which is very, 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 very common in the both these things are keeping a very calm head, keeping a very level head, and backing the players to the tilt. And that's really repaid for them. And Mohit are coming in and doing that job for them in the death, in not just one match, in two consecutive matches against Punjab Kings as well. You saw him put their man of the match performance, and once again in a very crucial chase where they had to defend 10 runs or to come in and pick up 4 wicket over, though there were a couple of runouts there. But then for him to go out there and do a job back his slower balls, that really requires confidence from the team behind you. And he's been able to do that. And that's been Gujarat Titans' secret sauce once again, for them to go out there and do a job. It's not the most flamboyant team on the paper when it comes to a lot of power hitters and a lot of players standing out. It's been a team who has really worked together as a team, who's been able to use these bits and pieces players to the best of their ability. And that's the best part of this team. And that's something which has really helped this team to do well. And now as they go forward this week, you have to say that it's not going to be an easy week for Gujarat Titans, because they're going to be having two important games this week as well. One against MI tomorrow, and they'll be playing KKR in the return leg, which they want to take one away from, because last time around they want to take one back on KKR this time. So that's going to be an interesting game. MI game is going to be interesting as well, because Mumbai is just coming after a loss. Let's talk about now the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Last week when we spoke about Royal Challengers Bangalore, they were in a spot of bother. They were going to play that game against Chennai Super Kings. And after last Monday, they were 2 wins and 3 losses. But all of a sudden, they've turned it around. They've got 2 wins in a trot now. One against Punjab Kings and one against the table toppers of yesterday, Rajasthan Royals. Now, the issue with Royal Challengers Bangalore so far has been the middle order. They've got top three performing extremely well. Faf du Plessis has been outstanding. When you look at the orange cap list, you have to say he's just running away with it at this point of stage, because there's nobody who's even very close to him. You can say Devon Conway is there, but he's almost close to 8, 9 odd runs away. And you have to say Virat Kohli as well. Whenever he's performed, he's really given that extra bit of confidence as an opening pair for Faf du Plessis. 200 plus partnerships this season. Then Glenn Maxwell really coming good for the team. But for them, apart from these three, who else has been performing well for them? You have to say Shahbaz Ahmed has been very underwhelming. Dinesh Karthik hasn't been able to do what he did last season. Maipa Lomner, not just yet there. Suyash Prabhu has been trusted, but not yet there. So that has been Royal Challengers Bangalore's biggest issue for the season now. Now, as they go to the next 7 legs, now as we talk in golf as well, the final 9, right? Now that is going to be the important phase for Royal Challengers Bangalore, because you are going to be tested on occasions where your top three are going to fail. Do you have it in the middle order to come out and pull your team out of the hole? Now that's where the middle order is going to be tested. Now for Royal Challengers Bangalore, they would want to utilize their resources a lot better, especially using someone like Manindu Hasaranga to the best of effects, especially using someone like maybe David Willey to the best of effects, maybe promote him up the order, and also maybe use ballers better as well. Especially when it comes to shifting in the ballers slightly, maybe use Shahbaz Ahmed a lot more because he's been extremely underutilized. So for Royal Challengers Bangalore, last two games were extremely well led by Virat Kohli. Now that's a massive positive for them. Though Faf du Plessis was injured, Virat Kohli stepped up to that role. He looks much more excited to lead this time around, and he's been tactically on point as well. So Royal Challengers Bangalore has done that well, and on top of that, Mohammad Siraj, you have to say his ability to pick up wickets in the power play consistently this season has been making him stand apart. And when you have an orange cap and purple cap holder with two individual brilliance who's been leading you up top in the charts, you will go on to do well. And that's been Royal Challengers Bangalore's biggest strength. They'll be playing against Kolkata Knight Riders next in Bangalore because they've got most of the home games first up itself because of the elections in Karnataka, of course. So they will be now playing a lot of games away from home. Now that is going to be their biggest test. 5 games away from home, how they're going to handle that, and then come back at home and get one more victory. Because you have to say Royal Challengers Bangalore prefer playing at home more than anything else. Yeah, Mia Magic for sure. But let's talk about this question because it's an interesting game today because you have to say two teams who have done extremely well, who's not done extremely well for their liking. DC and Sunrisers Hyderabad. We'll talk about the fantasy side of things because the toss is almost done. So we will talk about who to keep in the team, who are the matchups to look forward into today's game, because we often have to talk about who are the players who have been dismissed the most. You have to say Bhuvneshwar Kumar versus Manish Pandey is a matchup to watch out for. And in the other side of things, Aiden Markram versus Kuldeep Yadav, because Aiden Markram has been dismissed by Kuldeep Yadav twice in the career, and Aiden Markram has just scored 5 runs and 12 balls against him, so which is not a good thing. And of course, Bhuvneshwar Kumar versus Prithvi Shaw as well, because Bhuvneshwar Kumar has dismissed Prithvi Shaw twice, and Prithvi Shaw has just scored 35 runs against him in 35 balls. So it is an interesting matchup to watch out for in today's game because you never know what can possibly happen. So let's look at captaincy picks for today. You have to say it for captaincy picks, you can still go in with an Aiden Markram. Number one, he's looked in good form, and you have to say, the kind of runs, T20 runs he has scored, he'll be an interesting pick for today. And David Warner is another captaincy pick you can keep in your team, primarily because of what he's been looking good, and he's also coming up against his former team. He's got a point to prove in Hyderabad. It's a homecoming for David Warner, the player. And of course, you have to say it's going to be an interesting one for him as well, because the way in which David Warner is going to be welcomed by the Orange Army, there's always a connection there. He might go on to do well, and often we have spoken about how he can be that match-winning element because he's been consistently giving runs. He might give you a 50. In fantasy side of things, you often don't look at the impact of the player. The stats really matter. So that's one of the reasons why you can keep David Warner up there in your team. He might be troubled by Bhuvneshwar Kumar, but then you expect the kind of form he's been in. Though he's not been extremely impactful, you can keep David Warner, that batter from Delhi Capitals. Alongside him, you have to go in with when you're keeping batters, you can try to keep someone like from Delhi Capitals. Um, you in the top three, you can go in with someone like a Mitchell Marsh as well. I know he's not yet come good, but then he might just enjoy coming good on a good Hyderabad surface. The surface looks good for today's game. It does not look like one of those slow and low Hyderabad surfaces, but you never know with Hyderabad surfaces. They often tend to deceive you. They might often give you a surface on the face of it, and behind it could be a totally different surface. So that's surface which you can expect. So try to go in with David Warner and Aiden Markram, because Aiden Markram can chip in with the ball as well. Because if David Warner is going to open the batting, you can expect him to maybe open the bowling because he's the off spinner, and Aiden Markram backs himself to ball in the power play, which you have seen in the SA20 as well. So he can be that option to reckon with. Now, when we talk about Sunrisers Hyderabad, Mayank Markande is another option. He's had a phenomenal tournament so far, and with the kind of inability in Delhi Capitals team to play spin and get away with spin throughout this tournament, he could be an important pick in your fantasy team for today's game, is what I think. So these are the picks for today's game. For this particular contest, as the toss is done, I had to do the preview. I had to do a analysis on the fantasy side of things. So let's get back. Let's talk about teams now once again. Let's talk about Punjab Kings sides, because before we go anything, before I think we can talk about before we talk about that, let's talk about Delhi Capitals and Sunrisers Hyderabad, because we are in the mode of talking about these two teams. Number one, what has gone wrong with Sunrisers Hyderabad? What a phenomenal team they have on paper, but very underwhelming, isn't it? And on the other end of things, Delhi Capitals will be slightly more happy. They had a jailbreak against Kolkata Knight Riders, you have to say so. They came almost close to choking it. It was just the self belief which was not there, which was clearly seen in that game, because it was a game which they had in hand. But they huffed and puffed, and finally they crossed the line. Ultimately, what matters is crossing the line. So that's a massive, massive bonus for them to get those 2 points under the bag. But whereas for Sunrisers Hyderabad, the game against Mumbai Indians, they'll be extremely disappointed to let Mumbai Indians score 190 on that pitch. Firstly, it was definitely not a 190 pitch. But now for Sunrisers Hyderabad, it is now up to them to come good. And even against Chennai Super Kings, you saw that they were not up there. They had a very, very disappointing batting performance. Now, what has gone wrong with them? Now, you have to say, when we talk about the best batters of the tournament, one of the major disappointment of this entire tournament has been Mayank Agarwal, because Mayank Agarwal's inability to score runs has been one of the major reasons why this team has not really looked the team which we expected them to be. Because Mayank Agarwal has been striking 106, and he's had an average of 19 so far in this tournament with 106 runs. All what he's scored. Now that is not a good strike rate or an average to have, because you've been the most entrusted players. You've been brought for 8 crores. You were also one of the captaincy options for the team. But now you're not giving anything for returns. And now he's also removed from the opening position. Now, what does that mean for the team? Now, doesn't mean, can they possibly look at him in a different position? Yes, possibly, yes. They can maybe bring him at number six, maybe bring him at number three instead of number six. Because if we're utilizing him at number six, might as well not play him. Might as well bring in someone like a Sanveer Singh instead, because Sanveer Singh has done a phenomenal job for them throughout. You have to say Sanveer Singh is a much more potential player to bat at number three, number four for this team, because he's been having a phenomenal tournament. He's had a phenomenal tournament with Syed Mustaqil Trophy as well. So you have to look at that option for the liking. Now that is number one. Number two, Harry Brook, right? Harry Brook did score that 100. Remember that. We all were happy and elated for Harry Brook's 100. But his inability to play spin in the middle overs is now a major issue. Now, what Sunrisers Hyderabad can possibly look is, now let's look at the 11 for today's game. I've not really looked into the 11 for today's game, so I think once I look into the 11, I just will look into what are the changes they have made as well. If you have any comments on what are the 11 for today's game, you can put it as well as I look into the 11 for today's game, because I'm really interested to know how they go about it. Number one, this is a team who has got the potential to do it at the end of the day. Who's got phenomenal potential when it comes to using the right place in the right position. This is where they might possibly have to try to bring in someone like Glenn Phillips. Why I take the name of Glenn Phillips is because Glenn Phillips is someone who can bat in the middle order for you, and that's been one of the issues for this team. Now, now for Mayank Agarwal, if he has to stay in this team, he has to bat at the top of the order. If you're going to put him in number six, it's not going to give him any confidence. And on tougher surfaces, it's just underutilizing him. One option for Sunrisers Hyderabad is to go with Abhishek Sharma and Mayank Agarwal and back them and hope they come good, and actually pack their team with middle order power hitters, which will include Rahul Tripathi, Aiden Markram, Henrik Klassen, and also Glenn Phillips. Now, this is a possibility in which they can go forward, because Glenn Phillips can come in and hit the spinners. He's got the ability to do it. He can come in number four, number five. Similarly, with Henrik Klassen as well, he's got the ability to finish games. He can also come in and counter spin in the middle overs. So that is a positive for them. And to add to that, towards the lateral end, you can bring in someone like Washington Sundar or Abdul Samad, whoever you deem fit to be batting at number seven for this team. Now, that is where they can look upon this team, because at this point of stage, at least, they've been extremely underwhelming as a team so far, and they've got some glaring issues. And another issue with them has been their bowling. Uh, when we talk about their bowling has been extremely underwhelming, primarily because someone like a Natarajan has not really delivered the goods for them. Natarajan, you have to say, him leaking runs has not really helped the cause for this team, because Umran Malik has been hot and cold once again. Alongside him, there has been no other bowler to back him up, because you have Umran Malik and Natarajan, who's been extremely inconsistent, and there's Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who's trying to do a job, but he's not getting any support from the other end. So that has been Sunrisers Hyderabad's bowling so far. But that is where you would want something like a Karthik Tyagi to be tried out, because he's too good a bowler to be even sitting on the bench. Now, for Brian Lara and Dale Steyn, they'll have to come together and identify Karthik Tyagi and back him, because he's the kind of bowler who can come in and do a job for you up top, maybe help Bhuvneshwar Kumar with a new ball, and at the same time do a job for them towards the lateral end, because their death bowling has been their biggest concern so far in this IPL. Natarajan has not looked the part. Bhuvneshwar Kumar has not really looked the part. And Marco Jansen is not a death bowler for you. He's a bowler who likes bowling with a new ball, and maybe use him through the mid overs as well. So that is where they'll have to identify Karthik Tyagi, because he's done a good job for them for whichever team he has played towards the lateral end. Maybe to back Karthik Tyagi, maybe bring him in for the Natarajan and see how he goes about. That's an option which Sunrisers Hyderabad can possibly try. On the other end of things, for Delhi Capitals, you have already seen they are a team who was still not there, but the biggest positive for them is now that they've dropped someone like Prithvi Shaw. It's going to be very interesting to see how they go about it in today's game. There's no Prithvi Shaw. They backed Phil Salt to do a job at David Warner, which is a very good way to go about it, because Phil Salt as well, he's someone who's preferred opening the batting, especially even county cricket, in wherever T20 blast as well, even the 100, he prefers opening the batting. And that is where you'll have to back someone like a Phil Salt to come good, because Prithvi Shaw has not been up to the mark at all, and he's become like a free wicket for a lot of teams to put Delhi Capitals on the back foot, and he's been technically extremely flawed as well. Maybe this is a good time for him to go back into the drawing room, work on the technical side of things, and come back. Maybe once Delhi Capitals get on a roll, and Sarfaraz Khan is back in the team as well, because even for Sarfaraz Khan, this is a very important game, because the whatever opportunities he's gotten, he's not really looked comfortable facing bowlers who are bowling at a high pace. And today, once again, Sarfaraz Khan will be tested by someone like Umran Malik. If Umran Malik is going to charge in and ball at him, it's going to be a very interesting matchup there, because Sarfaraz Khan is someone who has not really looked extremely comfortable against bowlers who have ball in extra 145 plus. And today is going to be a major challenge for him. And you would want someone like Akshar Patel to be also batting up top the order, because he's too good a player to be batting at number 6. You can say so. His talent has been not properly utilized by Delhi Capitals as well in that particular batting order. So that is about it from Delhi Capitals. They'll after they've gotten that win, they really want to come together as a team now and get another win. Maybe that will make them feel a lot more comfortable. Winning in Hyderabad is never easy, because when you talk about Hyderabad, it's always been a fortress for Sunrisers Hyderabad, but can they make it a fortress once again? Now that's the biggest question, because the man who made it the fortress is coming against to take that fortress and own that fortress tonight once again. So let's talk about two teams which we haven't already spoken about: Punjab Kings and Mumbai Indians. The two teams who just had a face-off in the recent past, and what a phenomenal game that was, because you have to say that was a game of the week. Ultimately, though Chennai Super Kings versus RCB was an extremely good game, but that game where you saw Mumbai Indians take on Punjab Kings has always been a mouth-watering encounter, isn't it? Because even 2020, you saw the double super over, and two teams are now tied in 15 games each. They played 30 games, and both the teams have won 15 games each. So it's always been a nail-biting contest when Punjab takes on Mumbai, and you've always seen that. Your most underrated team of the week. I mean, it's a tough question, man. I mean, I have to agree that it's one of the toughest questions. The most underrated team of the week. I'll have to go in with. I don't think so. It's underrated anymore. I have to go in with someone like a Punjab Kings maybe once again. I think because they are there and there, but they're just showing what they can possibly do on these weeks, because they lost to RCB. They're coming this week, but they also put in a performance where they really took the Mumbai Indians team apart. So they've got a lot of youthful exuberance, and they are a team to reckon with. Just don't write them off yet, because once Rabada is also back into this team, I think this team can do a lot of special things. They've got Sam Curran, who's been leading this team. Remember, there's no Shikhar Dhawan in this team. There was Atharva Thalde, who's 21, 22 years old. There was someone like Harpreet Singh Bhatia, who's playing IPL after 11 long years. And they've got someone like Prabh Simran to open the batting, and Jitesh Sharma. Jitesh Sharma has been phenomenal, scoring a 9 ball 25. Have to be one of the best cameos of this year's IPL. So I think personally talking about Punjab team, that the last over from Arshdeep Singh, it shows this team has got a lot of character in them. There's unlike any other Punjab team, this team has got a self belief in them, and that's something which you can expect when you have someone like a Trevor Bellis leading them. Trevor Bellis is a World Cup winning coach. He's been part of a lot of successful teams in the history, and that is one of the primary reasons why Trevor Bellis has also been part of KKR in the championship in 2014 as well. So you have to say Trevor Bellis is a coach with a lot of character, has been a most experienced coach, and that is seen in this team. You are seeing a lot of fearless attitude in this team. He was a catalyst in the English white ball revolution, and you're seeing this team play a very similar sort of cricket as well. Fearless brand of cricket, and hence I'll put Punjab the most underrated team of the IPL so far, because a lot of people are not looking at them because of where they stand in the points table at this point. They can really make a roaring comeback, and they can really make it to the playoffs, is what I personally feel. And they are the most underrated team of the week once again. I think in the last week also I picked them as the most underrated team, because they always are there and thereabouts, and you really hope they have a good season, because they've not really made it to the playoffs after 2014. So this is another chance for them to really have a shot. They've finished number 6 for the last 4 seasons. So this is another chance for them to really make that really climb the ladder, because once again, as you look in the points table, if you look where they are, they are once again at number 6. So I hope it's not a curse for them to remain at number 6 forever. They would want to make a move on from there, because that last over from Arshdeep Singh was one of the best last overs you've seen. The bowling team is always going to be under pressure in Wankhede, defending anything less than 20. And there, giving away just 2 runs, picking away 2 wickets, and breaking the middle stump there, showing how temperamentally calm he is just what Punjab team is all about. And I think Arshdeep Singh himself is about that calm customer under pressure. He always tends to deliver. We've often seen that from Arshdeep Singh previously as well. And once again, he's just showing up as to what he can possibly do. And Sam Curran with the bat is a massive, massive plus for them. I mean, now if you look, ultimately 18 crores of money is worth it. He's been doing a job with the ball. He's been giving you runs with the bat and also captaining the team. So I think Punjab team has had a phenomenal time so far. And the game against RCB as well, they almost came to winning that game. And Shah Rukh Khan has also been doing a good job finishing for them. So far, so good for the Punjab team. And let's talk about Mumbai Indians. They had a phenomenal victory against a team like Hyderabad. But after that, what really went wrong for them against Punjab? It has to come down to their death bowling. They'll have to bring in someone like a Riley Meredith back into the team because Jason Behrendorff is not your death bowler. And Riley Meredith with that extra pace alongside Jofra Archer might be looking to bulldoze a lot of teams because they want to really bully a lot of teams with that extra bit of pace. And that's where Jofra Archer will need that support from Riley Meredith. And also for them at the same time, the spin department will have to step up. And Piyush Chawla has done a good job for them so far in the tournament. But once again, another spinner. Ritik Shaw can also step up a little bit more and hope they come good. Arjun Tendulkar has been good so far, but you have to say the 30 runs over just might be slightly heavy on him. Just his third game of the tournament and 30 runs over straight up on him. He bought a beautiful ball to Prabh Simran Singh. You have to accept that. He was looking good in the first part of that innings. But then, as you say, IPL is a tough cookie to crack because anybody can have a bad game at any point of stage. Even if you're the greatest, one game can really bring you down. So for Arjun Tendulkar himself, he'll have to really get back some confidence and look to do the basic side. So far, he's got the limitations as a bowler. If you have to technically analyze Arjun Tendulkar, he's still got maybe 10 to 15 Ks more which he can put on. Right now, his one up looks like one of the major issues for him because he's putting a lot of thrust onto his body while running in a lot more quicker, which is not good. You can maybe delay the bowling up slightly more, maybe as he works with the bowling coaches of Mumbai Indians, and as he's going to work a lot more because he's got one of the most phenomenal bowling units to work with him. And I think Zahir Khan is part of the Mumbai Indians MI director of cricket as well. So I think he's got phenomenal people to work around with, which will help him to correct the technical flaws as a bowler, and that's only going to help him put in a lot more pace, put in a lot more control to his bowling as well, bowling the tougher overs. He bowled a beautiful over against Hyderabad. He bowled well, so that's a massive up on him. But then cricket is such a leveler, isn't it? You can have one good day and next day can really bring you on pretty quickly. So that's about it from us for today. We've had a long session covering almost every team possible. You have to say next week of cricket is going to be extremely enthralling because you are going to see some of the teams really break away and some of the teams fall apart as well, or else you're going to see a complete jam. So I'm expecting a complete jam. I'm hoping it's a jam in the middle with maybe 10 points or 12 points. You're going to see at least 10, at least 5 to 6 teams collide at 10 for the next week and see how things go. And you'd want teams like Delhi and Hyderabad to also climb up the ladder and really give this IPL a very good finish towards the business end. So that's about it from us. Thank you for joining. It was wonderful taking all your questions. So we are just 10 minutes away from today's game. It's going to be a very interesting game because if Delhi Capitals win, that'll give them a lot of confidence. They'll be on same points with Sunrisers Hyderabad and also with KKR. That'll make them feel a lot better from where they started off at the start of the IPL. So see you all very soon. And thank you, Harshad. We'll be back. We'll keep in touch. Keep coming. Keep sharing this video so that we can keep bringing you with all these interesting analysis and also keep you all active with a lot of more interesting news. Do check out all our videos as well and also follow our Instagram page for all the latest sporting update. Thank you and have a good time, all of you.